Hello everyone, how you going? Welcome back to some more Heritage Minutes, one of my favourite parts of the week, just watching these 1 minute movies, and so we're starting out with Kensington Market.
It started as the Jewish market. Victorian houses became storefronts, kosher butchers, tailors, and bakeries. Soon enough, other immigrants came to our community. Each arrival added a piece to the patchwork of our bustling bazaar. We all understood that with hard work, anything was possible. Over time, faces and languages changed, but the spirit of our village inside the city remained. See, it didn't matter where you were from, the market became home.
Wow.
Neighborhoods like Toronto's Kensington Market have helped shape Canada by bringing newcomers shoulder to shoulder to build new lives together.
Well, first of all, I just love that animation style. I don't know if you call it watercolor or if there's a particular name for it, but no, I loved it. It's very different to anything else we've seen before. I mean, obviously we have seen other ones where Heritage Minutes tries to branch out a little bit, like Vikings was a little bit, I guess, video game, and then you had, Peacemaker was CGI, and now this one's just full animation, kind of, like I said, watercolor, but I love the entire style of it. You really just get to be put into the time period, you know, you get all these chickens, and then 2 seconds later you've got this just completely different color scheme, and that just continues throughout, you know, then all of a sudden it's pink, and then it's very yellow, and it just, man, I loved it. And that's just without touching on the entire kind of concept of the Heritage Minute. So firstly, I just want to double check where Kensington is. Alright then, well, it's up here. Where is that exactly? Okay, it's up there. Well, hopefully Google Maps hasn't led me astray, and it is actually that one and not some other random one throughout the rest of the country. But either way, I guess that's the only kind of thing I can take a word for it. Because firstly, I was wondering if this was going to be more Toronto-sided, because I've heard a lot just in terms of the migration to Toronto from a whole bundle of different people from, I guess we had a more Asian influence in this regard, and then you have, I guess, all the Mediterranean influence maybe in here. And I've definitely heard from a whole bundle of different videos and a whole bundle of different comments that even though people say it's not a melting pot, it's a mosaic, it's none of this, it's that, either way, you've got a mass migration of just half the world, or all the world is just kind of ended up there in their own little pocket. And it might be small populations or it might be large populations, but either way, it just ends up being a very diverse country. And so I love this entire thing just centered around the market, bringing everyone together. You know, everyone needs food and all those kind of nourishing things, whether it be fish or soccer balls or chickens, or I don't even know, there is a million things covered in this. But like I said, no matter who you are, you're going to need some kind of market, and so you're just going to end up there. And whether you're brand new to the country because you've just immigrated or you've been there since the dawn of time, just bringing all of these people together just makes for a great combination of just everyone bringing together their foods and their spices and their knowledge and all these different things, even just culture in a nutshell. So people just get to experience all these different things. And so no, I can only imagine that the Kensington markets, as well as just markets all over the world, has done so many great things for people just moving around the entire world and around the country and just really trying to just fit in. And so now I'm just curious, 1993, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, so maybe I can only imagine it's still going on. Oh, this guy, maybe there's a phone. Hang on, is there anything else? Any other times?
Kensington Market have helped shape.
Hey, this guy's got headphones on, so I guess it certainly has to be semi-recent, but I'm not seeing any particularly perfectly recent things. When did this come out? 2017. Okay, you can definitely see because it's in widescreen instead of just 4:3. And actually, scrolling down, often the description gives you a nice kind of starter. Neighborhoods like Toronto's Kensington Market. Actually, what the hell? Toronto's Kensington Market. So I guess Google Maps did completely mislead me, but I guess I was also right, so I'm kind of proud in that regard. But no, neighborhoods like Toronto's Kensington Market have helped shape our country by providing newcomers a first stop in Canada. In the first animated Heritage Minute, new arrivals transform a single store as it passes from generation to generation and culture to culture. I'm not even sure if I fully picked up on that fact that it was actually just the one store. I mean, they just kind of panned around the one room, so of course it is, but I was just too engrossed in the entire animation style and just the story that I didn't even notice that there was one store. And so no, that's incredible. And so I guess exactly like the description said, and exactly like I said, you know, this is just a brilliant video that just shows you culture to culture, generation to generation, how things can change, but really it just keeps its cultural significance and its heritage, and man, markets are just good for that, aren't they? But anyway, now moving on to our second one, we have Sodi.
Where are they? Look, over there!
And it's the same flat country everywhere.
Hard work.
In the 1890s, a wave of European immigrants arrived on the Canadian prairies. Eat, it's good.
Anna, is it baby? You all right?
paper on the roof.
One day we have toilet paper also.
Many built their first house from the same earth that would grow their bread. Wow. They called it a Sodi.
Oh, well, that just makes complete sense, and man, that was a hell of a trip. Those people would have worked so hard, just literally working the land down to their bare bones and just, man, making a house, making food, making an entire life for themselves out of literally nothing, stacking up grass and all those things just to make a house. I mean, anything's going to do anything just to get a roof over your head. And I think one of my favorite lines was just at the start when they said, oh, just so much land as far as the eye can see. And that's just funny to me because I've just now been filled in what a prairie actually is in terms of the landscape. And people also commented some sayings about if your dog runs away, you'll still be able to see them 2 days later, and if you fall asleep on the road, you just won't hit anything. You'll never die because there's nothing to hit because it's just that flat and just grass everywhere. And so I guess if you do just want to be working the land, there are not too many better places in the world where you just get apparently abundance of kind of water and minerals and all these things, but then at the same time just open landscape to yourself. I mean, it certainly doesn't take away from the fact that it would have been very hard work. Just like look at everything they have to do: wheelbarrows, horses, just cutting down, mowing, not that it's a lawnmower, but just kind of mowing all the grass just to kind of get it out of your way, just be able to recycle it and put it as a house even. All the while you're trying to, I think, start a family, like, because he mentioned the baby and she's like, nope, we got work to do, we just got to keep soldiering on. And I guess that's just how it was. People were just coming overseas, just I guess a new start away from the UK into this mega country where you just get, honestly at that time, probably as much land as the entire of the England. So I guess if a clean slate start is what you want, then there isn't too many better places to start it out. But I do love even at the end here where she goes, oh, our neighbours, I can only assume is who you're going to be talking about, but our neighbours have toilet paper. And goes, you know what, one day we'll have toilet paper. You know, you're just aiming high. Like, that is what you're aiming for in life. You've got your mud house, a Sodi now. I'm fairly sure how it's pronounced.
A Sodi.
Yeah, a Sodi, just with a little bit of a different accent, but it's still a Sodi. And so really, just to go from that to one saying this.
She has toilet paper on the roof.
One day we have toilet paper also.
Yes. Just like one day we have toilet paper is what I can only assume he's saying. One day we have toilet paper as well. And she's like, yeah, one day we will. Like, your dreams and aspirations are in a modern day sense so low. And it's honestly incredible to hear and see, because so often people just forget about where we actually came from. You know, it's so easy. Everything's so instantaneous these days. And so really just go back to living in the land. And I don't think many people would be able to do what any of these people had to do. But anyway, now moving on to our third one, we have Sir Sanford Fleming.
What the expense?
And I say we'll use standard gauge, standard steel rails and iron bridges on the intercolonial.
Nonsense.
We're not just building a railroad, gentlemen. We are building a country.
Patriotic rubbish.
Well, we can just stop that. Aye, attaboy. Come on, Roberts. And Roberts, look at this, huh? Between Halifax and Toronto, there are 5 different time zones. It's ridiculous. Oh, with the railway and the electric telegraph, what the world really needs is a system of standard time zones.
But sir, cities set their own time by the sun. They'd never agree.
Oh, we'll have to make them, Roberts. Make them understand. Even if it takes years.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sanford Fleming of Canada, to whom the world owes the invention of standard time. Mr. Fleming.
He surveyed and engineered 4 Canadian railways and transformed the world with standard time. Sanford Fleming, engineer.
Well, this one just completely caught me off guard, but at the same time just completely made total sense to me, because it caught me off guard because I just didn't rub the 2 brain cells together to go, oh, so Sanford Fleming, I know that name from 2 videos ago when we just learned about all the different Canadian inventions, and I went, that was an awesome invention, and how did he go about doing it? And then someone in the comments said, yeah, there's a heritage minute about it, and then I never expected to just kind of come across it like this. I didn't even choose it on purpose, but there we go. Now we just have so much more context about the entire thing. I mean, I would like to know at the start here, I'm going to have to watch it again just to get some more context, because he said something like, we're not building a railroad, we're building a country.
And I say we'll use standard gauge, standard steel rails and iron bridges on the intercolonial.
Nonsense.
We're not just building a railroad, gentlemen. We are building a country.
Yeah, exactly. So he talks about just the construction of the actual railroad, and I can only assume that these guys are funding the entire thing, and they're going, oh, steel's so expensive, can't we just use wood or something like that? And they go, no, we're building a country here. We're not just building a railroad. We're literally just building the foundation for a domestic travel system throughout the entire country, and we just need it to last, for goodness sake, especially given some of the geography and terrain in Canada. So he was just kind of being, I guess, forward thinking, going, no, we can't just cheap out on this entire thing. We just want to build it once and correctly, because it's just thousands of kilometers of railroad. And I just love that he was first of all an engineer working on the railroad, and he went, my goodness, there was 5 bloody time zones between, I think, Halifax and Toronto. No, that would be too far.
Let's look at this, huh? Between Between Halifax and Toronto, there are 5 different time zones.
Oh no, it actually was Halifax and Toronto. That feels like it's too far away, or maybe I'm just getting mixed up. Either way, there's 5 different time zones between Halifax and Toronto, and then these guys just come along and go, sir, they all set their time by the sun. It's never going to be exact. It's never going to be together. You'll never get them to be able to agree. And he just goes, nonsense, just make them agree. And even though I guess they might sound a little bit heavy-fisted in terms of just like, no, you city, you are just now using my time, and the you city over there, you're also using this time, and just everyone's going, okay, I didn't agree to this in the first place, but maybe sometimes that's the only real way that any change can actually get done. You know, you just have to be a little bit heavy-fisted and heavy-handed and just make things get done. I mean, I would still like to know how he even came up with the concept of time zones and just, just making the segmentation of the entire thing in the first place. But either way, he was obviously just thinking of so many different things about how to improve the entire country and world, just going, hang on a second, this just can't work. We can't have trains leaving this and this and this and this and, 5 different time zones. I wonder how much of a difference that was, because really I can only imagine they would have been shoved onto one after that. But I guess in saying that, his cartography and mapping skills would have probably had to been at a pretty high level to be able to just building intercontinental railways across the entire country. Like I said, thousands and thousands of kilometers later, you just have to get all the rails to line up and make sense. And so I guess I was just wondering how you even pick kind of a Greenwich Mean Time as 0 to begin with and how you go on from there. But I don't know, like I said, he's a very smart guy, clearly. So I guess he just came up with some brilliant solution just to fix the entire thing, and it all just stemmed from railroads, which is incredible. He didn't just kind of go, oh, this is just, I don't know, I'm just going over here and I'm traveling for work, or I'm just recognize that this person and this place is just, their clocks are out of alignment. No, he's actually just kind of building the entire domestic railway, and that's how the entire thing came about, because he didn't already have enough on his plate just building the thing. No, he actually just had to go and fix one of the major broken components of even having it run in the first place. And so for them to actually recognize it, what was it, 15 years later? Yeah, 15 years later in Washington. Interesting. Washington, DC being in the USA. Either way, I guess he was just recognized at a very high level, and like I said, good on him for just changing the entire world. But anyway, now moving on to our 4th one, we have rural teacher.
Children.
You must understand, young woman, that you work for us and not the other way round.
But you would like to tell me how I must go about teaching the children to read.
I've told you what it is we want you to do, and that's enough.
Please, Mr. Clarence, would you take a look at this?
You'll not bother me with that.
No, but you see, sir, your son read this today. It is quite a difficult passage. It is from the Bible. This is what I use to teach him to read.
Oh, sure they love that.
Ah, Mr. Clarence, why don't you just read it then?
Both of you know I cannot read a word.
Right.
Throughout most of our history, millions of Canadians have owed their education to young women who taught in one-room schoolhouses, much like this one.
Well, that one just caught me completely off guard. I mean, we haven't really had a roller coaster heritage minute today, but man, that one took a turn for, I wouldn't say the worst, but definitely a turn, if nothing else. Obviously, he was just dismissing the entire thing, going, oh, get away, you listen to how I teach you, just get out of here, stop with your ideas, and, my son, whatever, I don't care if he's reading it. She goes, please, for everyone's sake, just take a little look at this. Look, it's a hard passage, your son read it, and surely you can just understand that this is a good idea. And he goes, oh, I couldn't even read it from the start, and just kind of has that moment where he's, I guess, embarrassed, and also just not really knowing where to go from there. But no, I just want to go and see, when was this? 1885, the meeting of the school trustees, Robert Harris. Oh, is that a painting? I mean, I can't say I've ever seen it or heard of it, but man, it certainly sounds like it's quite famous. And even just at the end here, I want to clarify something, and hopefully you guys can clarify it for me, but she says this.
Throughout most of our history, millions of Canadians have owed their education to young women who taught in one-room schoolhouses.
I mean, at the end there, the one-room schoolhouse is very, very impressive in terms of, I guess, maybe the population wasn't as big, and so you're not having like 1,000 kids you're dealing with in one room. But either way, it was most of the fact that she said just the young women were teaching, in terms of, I'm wondering where they're actually just getting the education from in the beginning. Because if these guys aren't educated and they seem like they're fairly well off overall, then how is she able to get an education as well, or instead of them? I'm just curious about that, because we all know history isn't the kindest to a lot of people. I mean, I am a little bit curious about the entire rural teacher. They didn't mention anything about a rural teacher, I don't think. Maybe they're just I guess that's where the one-room schools come into it, in terms of the millions of Canadians have just learned throughout the years in just rural areas all over Canada, just taught by these amazing women that have just been educated themselves, or maybe they were even just self-taught, so they just were able to then just pass on their knowledge, or maybe it came from the UK, or man, I guess there's so many different avenues. I mean, I also want to see, where was it? I think it was Prince Edward Island? Yeah, Prince Edward Island. Where the hell is that? Toronto again, apparently. Oh no, Kensington, wasn't it? There we go, right there, right next to Kensington, or that's the entire island right there. And so I wonder if we come back here, it doesn't say anything else besides the year, no, just Prince Edward Island.
That you work for us and not the other way around.
I mean, I understand it's not very common at the time for everyone to be able to read and write and have all the vocabulary just kind of rounded off 100%, but at the same time, to have a seemingly position of power in an educational system, how have you gotten there if you can't write or read? No, you can't read. And so that just makes me wonder more, than how is she just weaved her way into this if she can read and write? I mean, it's fantastic because she's able to just teach all the children at the start, wherever they are, just poking their heads in, just trying to get a little bit of something, a little bit of a sticky beak. But just the fact that she's just trying to put forward a little bit of new information or a new way of thinking, a new way of teaching to these guys, and they go, no, just remember, you work for us, not the other way around. And then obviously just at the end here, it kind of just flips side and he goes, ooh, maybe she should actually be above me, considering I've just been completely embarrassed because my son, which is however old, is just able to read a passage and I don't even know how to read anything. And I mean, I guess I should probably go to the description. What is it? Robert Harris's famous painting is brought to life as a PEI teacher confronts her school board in 1885. I mean, I don't know what a PEI teacher, no, it says rural teacher, so I don't know, but Robert Harris's famous painting, so I guess it is a famous painting, but like I said, I haven't heard of it. And so I guess overall, this lady's kind of similar to the last one, you know, she's not completely in power, but she just has brilliant ideas and was just able to just charge full steam ahead and just actually get them done, just like Sir Sanford Fleming did. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to do the YouTube algorithm things down below. Also, if this is the first video of one that you're watching, then make sure to check out just all the Heritage Minutes or just all the videos I've done. Also, make sure to go check out all the original videos down in the description below. Or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.